Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 2. I have none the other than Miss Doris Jackson-Shazier with us. I am so excited to be able to share this room with you. Welcome to the Peace Driven Leader Lounge, where leaders are serious about transforming their life, the peace driven leader way. And so I want to just open up this candid conversation by welcoming you. Thank you so much, Miss Doris, for sharing this space with us.
Oh,
It's so
thank you
good
so
to
much.
have you. Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, you all, you know how we do over here in the Peace Driven Leader universe. We're going to have real candid conversations that matter with real leaders who are living the life. Now, and Doris will tell you a little bit more about what she does. And when you do, I know a lot of times on podcasts, you all, they read this script of all the things that this person does. The people that we invite on to sit in the lounge, we would be here all day if we list all the things that they achieve. So just for the sake of logistics and for you to be able to spend most of our time just getting value from today's call, I would love for you to just share not just what you do, but your roles. If you're a wife, if you're a mom, if give us some insight as for because those are also things that really matter so that we can get a full picture of what life, leadership, and legacy looks like on your end. And then also share with us some of the powerful things and the spaces that you've been able to navigate as a corporate professional.
Awesome. Well, thank you for just a warm welcome to the call. Super excited about sharing space with you today as well. Again, my name is Doris Jackson-Shazier, and I am a leadership coach and management consultant. And I love to introduce myself in two parts. I love to say what it is that I do and then who I am, because I believe that those are different things and they both matter. And so,
Yes.
what I do is partner with mainly medium and large size organizations and public institutions, education, government. But I help support organizations in creating high accountability, high morale environments. So helping them to
Mm,
build great relationships and great without sacrificing great results. I do
mm,
believe you can have both if done the right way. And so I specialize in coming in and helping organizations just build their leadership competency, the leadership competency of their team, and help
mhm.
them to create that high accountability, high morale culture.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, and I enjoy doing it. I also do one-on-one coaching, and so I love the fact that I get to be a thought partner, a confidant, to leaders. And leaders, it's different when you're responsible for people's careers, for people's lives, and you guys need a safe space to come to and talk with someone who gets it. And so I
Mhm.
love that I get to work in that space to be an advocate and supporter and really just an ear and a shoulder for people who work in leadership.
'Cause
So
Lord
that's
knows we need it.
yes, we need it,
Yes,
especially,
yes.
our spiritual leaders, our corporate leaders. Like, we need safe spaces where we can go and not have to have all the answers,
Mhm.
and share some of those burdens with someone that is not going to tell the world, and you just get to be human and think out loud. And so I love
Mhm.
that as part of my role, I share space with many leaders in that capacity. So that's a little bit about what I do. Now, who I am,
Yes.
I
Who
am
are you?
yeah, who I am. I am the wife to my college sweetheart. We've been together now 23 years or so. And
Awesome.
and so I'm very proud that we were a young couple and we're still coupling, right?
Yes.
I'm the mom to 4, and I have kids ranging from 21 to 6. And so I get to experience kids, or parenthood of the different stages all at the same time, parenting a young adult while also parenting a child in elementary school and the
Mm.
2 in between. And so I am a mom. I'm the oldest child of 7 brothers and 5 sisters. And so yes,
Whoa!
I am a big sister. And so that carries on into who I am as a leader because I think I've been a coach my whole life. Like, I can't
Wow.
remember a
Yeah.
time in which I wasn't coaching others.
That's usually how it
Um,
is. That's who you are.
yeah,
Yeah, that's who
yeah,
you
and
are.
then I think lastly, what I would end with, is I'm a friend. Like, I really pride
Mhm.
myself on being a good friend. I am that friend that, silence doesn't change the relationship in terms of if
Mm,
life starts lifing and I don't hear from you, I don't act funny when you come back. We pick up right where we
yes.
left off.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love friends like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, it's no judgment, it's no
Yeah.
pressure, and I think my friends love that about me, because it's like, I'll hop on the phone, like, we just talked yesterday, and
Mhm.
it's been a year, and so I
Mhm.
have a way of holding my friends accountable, but also creating this
That
space
grace.
where life can happen, and they don't have to worry about losing me along the way, because I'm
Mm.
there regardless, and
Mm.
so, yeah, that's how I would describe myself.
I love that. That's so beautiful. That helps to really give some context behind the conversation. And for those of you all, I just bear with me because for the first several episodes, I will be very intentional about laying the foundation as we begin to build on what this is that we are creating in this space. And
Mhm.
so, what this is for those of you who are listening, it is that sacred place for leaders of leaders where you can just be, where you can hear legacy level insights and you can get practical tools and you can hear real life conversations from people who have children and who are married and have responsibilities outside of work. Because inside the workspace, this is not something we normally talk about. Like it
Yes.
is outcomes and KPIs and metrics and that's just the culture. And so we want to be able to have like this sacred space where we can just take off the hats and remove the mask and just say, here's where I am. This is how I feel. And so a lot of the conversations we have, like I said, may ruffle some feathers. We may have some real like moments where we have to strap ourselves up by the bootstraps and just receive what's being said because this is a soul aligned environment. So it's going to create and things are going to come up. There's going to be things where we're talking, Doris, that even for you, you're going to pull back from years stories you probably didn't share, but that's what I love about this. That's why I don't script this out because I feel like we have too much AI going on as it is. We have enough to
Mhm.
handle. And I want this space to be one that's truly authentic and organic as we just flow. Because what comes up in the moment, I believe solely that it is for a person that is listening that needed to hear that story, that
Amen.
example, that truth, right? And so I always warn the listeners that because we create a space that is so fluid and open and raw like this, it's really important that you know how to position yourself to really get the most out of these podcast episodes. And so, what you don't want to do is come with this lens and this filter, because that's who we're speaking to. Ultimately, it's the filter that you have where you're just ready to go in the comments and blah, 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 and spit out how things are making you feel. We don't want you to do that. You'll get the most out of listening to this podcast by really allowing your spirit to guide you and navigate. So there's things that will be said that your spirit will receive. There's things that will be said that your spirit will resist. Lean into where the resistance is because that's where
Mm,
the growth is really, that's where the growth really is. So before you like add your thoughts to it, because that's what we want. We want the feed and the comments to feed us, right? Even me,
uh-huh.
elevate,
Yes,
constantly
definitely.
elevate our thoughts so that we can look at this content and it's like an evolution of like higher level thoughts and different perspectives and confirmation and affirmation for people that they can take with them on their journey, right? And in order for us to create a growth space like that, we're going to have to steward our emotions better. Because I look at all these podcasts and I'm looking in the comments and it doesn't feed you. And I really want this culture to be different. I want it to be a peace-driven leader culture. And if not, our team knows how to remove you from the space because that's how serious I am about it. Like, really, I want people to feel free
Awesome.
to be able to share. So, that is me laying the foundation for this
Love it.
conversation. Doris, say whatever comes up for you. Let's just have candid conversations so that we can really serve the people. We're not going to tickle your ears. We're here to give you specific examples and, values so that when you go back into the chaotic world and the hustle and bustle and the high demands because you're a high value person, that you're able to come back to that space feeling more lighter, feeling immediately relieved, feeling clearer so that you have the capacity, right, to continue to
I
show
love it.
up, the way you've been. So, with that being said, I'm going to give you the floor by just asking you a question. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I stay ready. Awesome. So you mentioned about just executive leadership management, and you talked a lot about culture and your experience around, really helping on executive level to shape culture. And I think that's a very powerful way for us to kind of start the foundation because for me, I like to see culture in the corporate space and how it translate into the family, into the home space, the 2 environments, the 2 worlds.
Mhm.
Because and you let me know what your thoughts are about this. What are some key elements that you believe that a leader needs to have in order to shape culture that transcends whether it's in the work environment or in the home environment? What are some key things that has to be in place in order to create that healthy culture that you spoke of earlier?
Okay. Well, I have a simple framework and I believe it applies in both environments. And I believe that the way you treat people when they do things wrong or they don't, meet the bar, and then the way you reward people when they do things right or recognize them will determine what the culture is. And
Mm,
no matter whether that's home or work, when you think about your teammates or when you think about your children, the way you show up when they don't do things right will decide how much they trust you, what information they'll give you, whether they'll come to you when they're in trouble. It shapes their confidence level. It shape it
mm.
home or work. It applies to both. It
I
does
love
the
that. I
same
love
thing
that. I
in
love
both.
it because it's so simple and so
Yeah, very
practical,
simple.
you know? And I wanna pull back even another layer because you made
Yeah.
a phrase that I feel is important to unpack because people listen from their lens, right?
Yep.
So when you say, how you treat people when they do things right, who is
Mhm.
determining what that right means? Because I
Yeah.
think that's the word that gets lost in the sauce, because
Mhm.
right for you could be different from right from the next person or that next person. So as a leader, how do you make sure that that right is communicated so that everybody is on the same page?
So yeah, that's definitely a part of the process is how you set expectations early on. And so you as the leader create shared vision. And so certain
Mhm,
things are collaborative, meaning we work together and we decide what the end game or what the goal is. And then other things are a matter of the structure or the entity or whatever we're a part of. And
mhm,
or in the home is biblical for some of us.
mhm.
And so the right has already been decided, the bar is already set, and it's a matter of the expectations on how we get there.
I
And so
love that.
expectations have to be set, but how you recognize and reward, because sometimes people do get weary
Mhm,
in doing well. And
mhm,
so if you have a child that just makes straight A's and that's all they do and make straight A's, and then maybe it's not incentivized in any way or ever recognized, one day they start to think, well, what's the use of making A's? It doesn't really do anything. Like it really doesn't matter. It's not relevant or important, in the home. But if you set the standard, the expectation that this is an expectation, this is what we do, this is how it impacts everything else, this is how it connects, then now the person buys into it differently. Same thing with the
mm,
workforce. If you lead a sales team and you have quarterly goals and you tie that into the annual goal, and so they understand that by meeting each quarter, then we make the end game, and this is what we're going to do or celebrate or how we're going to commit each quarter, so
mhm.
that we make it to the end of the finish line, that matters. And sometimes
Yes.
in leadership and parenting, we focus on what to do when they do things wrong. Like, how do we
Mhm.
respond when things go wrong? Well, how you handle things when they go right is important as well.
Absolutely. I would even say even more important,
Yeah, because it
and
reinforces.
yes, the positive behavior.
Yeah.
And this is just really good because even when I went to my teacher's conference with my son, for all the moms who are listening, we're talking about the parent leaders in this moment. So the
Mhm.
parent leaders in the room, you have that one child,
Oh,
you
yeah.
always got that one. You know what I'm saying? And so, and my one, he's bright, and he can do it. Now he is neurodivergent. I have two that are neurodivergent, three total now. And then 2 that are gifted. So they have special needs in some form.
Yeah.
And what I realize is to settle myself on the good. So even as a leader, sometimes you get into this pattern where people are fearful to mess up or misstep because, of the consequence is so clear, but the reward is what we
Yes,
really wanna focus on. You mentioned about, vision, and I really love that because I really, really believe that that is, like, one of the hugest advantages that we have as leaders is that we're great, um, naturally with being able to cast a vision. The blind spot that I see, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is that the leader's ability to not just cast the vision, but make sure that the vision aligns with the people that are following you. I feel like that's such a huge blind spot and missed opportunity because everybody, yeah, good, you got your mission down. Good, you got your vision down. Good, we know where we're going. But what is it? What isn't for me? How does that tie for me and my personal vision? And what does that look like for me? And I would love to hear that because with the app, and I talk often about the app, you all, because we're doing this launch with the app where it deals with alignment. And you mentioned quarterly goals, all that stuff is automated, and they use AI in the app to make sure that we are able to lead ourselves. But
mhm.
I really believe that that's where the app does. It's like it fills that gap because otherwise, how else would I know that my personal vision aligns? So I would love for you to talk to those people who are in the professional space and they haven't really thought about it like that. What are some things that you would tell them to do to make sure, kind of like a validator or a checkpoint to say, this is how you know if your vision aligns with the company or not? So that they know if it doesn't, then there's a decision that needs to be made because it's not healthy to be in a place where the vision doesn't align. So, what are those things to look for to make sure that your personal vision also aligns with the company?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking a couple of different ways about that question. It's a lot of different ways I can go with it. But what I would say is I love to go back to purpose.
Mm,
I believe that your purpose, and once you understand your purpose and what you're supposed to do or what you're here or called to do, it becomes a compass for you.
mhm,
And so I'll use myself as an example. For a long time, I held on. I was with a company for 14 years, and I knew that my purpose was to grow leaders. I've known it for a very, very long time.
mhm,
And what I didn't understand at the time was I thought that I had to be in a company in order to do it. Because for
mm,
me, I needed a title. So in order for me to be a leader, I need to be the director or something. I got to be the VP or something. I have to be the manager. But in order to lead others, I need to be in a position so that I now have this captive audience of leaders and people that I can develop. And what grew and understanding that God gave me over time was that, yes, you understand the purpose, but you're missing one piece of it. You've limited yourself in thinking that it has to be done in one place. And
mm.
so, now that I work as a consultant, I transcend industries. I help build leaders in healthcare, in education, in the business world, like in different aspects, construction. Like it's
I
interesting the type of clients that I land. I landed a law firm client, different industries where I'm still building leaders. But for a long time, I thought that I needed to be with a company that was giving me a team in order to work out this vision or this purpose in
wow.
developing people. And so what I would say is if there's an opportunity to first understand your purpose, and
Mhm,
then see how your purpose can be leveraged in different environments. So maybe you work for that company and maybe you are serving the purpose and you are a part of the overall vision or a piece of the vision, but be able to connect your purpose to that overall vision. Now, if there's a complete lack of alignment, then maybe we need to go to a different environment. But there may
yeah,
be an opportunity or a department or a project or an ERG team or something that you get to live out your purpose that then aligns with the mission of that company.
I
And so
love
you
that.
have to find that synergy, and I think it is gonna be different for everyone, but I would go back to
Absolutely.
purpose.
I love that. And listen, this is another word that I can feel you all when you're listening. Like it's this untangible, sometimes it feels overused because it's like, okay, what does that, really mean? And we use it so much that it's almost like we're embarrassed to say, okay, what does that really look like, when you think about the purpose? So for me, and I would love for you if you have another just different
Mhm.
way of looking at it. But on one of the previous episodes, the first one we talked about the difference between your calling, your gifts, and your skill set,
Ooh, like
and
that.
really understanding that the differentiator. And I really helped even my children to get clear because at the teenage stage, that's where a lot of that curiosity starts to stir up. Like, okay,
Yeah.
what is this life is about? It's not just about TikTok and phone and school now. I'm getting ready to get
Uh-huh.
out of school. What am I going into? It gets really heavy around that time. And so for me, the biggest thing is like giving people this umbrella calling, like leadership. Like this is so
Mhm.
I can show up and lead no matter what sector or what area I'm in, what environment, like you mentioned, that I'm in. And that's really key because I think sometimes when people say purpose and they're thinking about something specific, they tie it to a particular role. And so when that role ends, it's like, oh, it's like you
Yeah.
literally feel like, you know, you lack purpose. And sometimes it feels like it's so easy to you. It's like hidden in plain sight. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
because you do it so naturally. So let's just take a moment to help those people who are listening that is still not clear about even what that purpose looks like, because that will help them to even decide whether where they are is expired or, they need to really like amplify their presence in that space. Like, what are some questions that you believe that a person can ask themselves that really helps them to see their
Their
calling
purpose.
and their gift. Yeah.
I mean, such a great question. Here's where I typically the filter in which I narrow down purpose and how I help
Mhm.
others. Um, Typically, your purpose drives you and it doesn't drain you. And
Mm.
so it's the one thing or the thing that you do and it gets you excited versus it drains you. When I built my business, I really built my business around the things that drove me, the things that got me excited, the things that I could do it all day and not tire of it. And so I believe when you are in your purpose or what's connected to your purpose, it becomes an energy driver and not a drainer. And that's a way to almost like intuitively identify it. Like, hey, okay, I notice whenever I do this, I get excited. I don't tire easily. I don't need a break from it. If I could do it every day, I'd be comfortable doing that. And so I think your purpose is aligned with that. Now, will you experience obstacles trying to get into a position to work in your purpose? Yes, but that doesn't mean it's not your purpose.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool you said
yeah,
that too, because
yeah.
at the end of the day, I believe that it's designed that way so that you are built to last. Like that fortitude is
Yeah, to
already built
refine you.
in
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Mhm.
because that's such a great way to say it because when you're in that sweet spot, I call it your zone of extraordinary,
Ah, I
then
love that.
as those obstacles come and things are happening, you have that built-in fortitude
Mhm.
because you naturally it doesn't feel like work. So you
Yeah,
naturally would do it. And when you have obstacles come your way, you handle it differently
yeah,
because you are who you are.
yeah,
And you know that you were created to do this. And so it won't shake you.
yeah,
Dang, I love
yeah.
that.
I think another thing to really look at is, when you're working on your purpose, you're solving a problem. You're solving something, and whatever it is, it grieves you. Whenever you see it, it's like it stays on your heart. It grieves you in a different way because you know in you that it could be done a better way. And what I notice about my leadership is I get really frustrated about indecisiveness. Like, I'm talking about if you wanna grind my gears, like, the indecisiveness really is like was a pain point for me, and I realized how intact my purpose was to leadership by the things that
Mm,
aggravated me, by the things that kept me up at night trying to solve, by the thing that if I spotted it in a person, I had to call it out, or I felt
yeah,
compelled to do something about it. So sometimes
yeah.
your purpose is connected to solving something that kinda grieves you, like something that it works your nerves to see it done the wrong way.
Mhm.
And that's another identifier for me, and then it
Yeah.
helped me to understand that I was meant to do this leadership thing because of the type of things that really frustrated me.
Oh, that's really good. Absolutely. And I believe that that's so important to know because as you all are getting what Doris speaks of, it's like this intuitive, like it's beyond the definition from like textbook and
Yeah.
like really understanding like this is how it feels.
Yeah.
This is how it feels. So when it feels this way, this is a pulling. And I believe that making decisions from an intuitive state is a very powerful, often underused skill set
I
that
agree.
we have as leaders because we ignore it. Often, like we ignore our body signals.
Mm,
We'll keep working through, even though it's like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Your body's clearly saying, I need energy,
yeah.
minerals, nutrients, and vitamins, but we ignore it. It's like we get into this pattern where we're so locked in a lot of times on a goal, not a governing aim, a legacy governing aim. That's another conversation for another day, but just a mere goal. Hit this metric by the end of the week. Hit this goal by the end of, the 30 days or the quarter. And we get so locked in that the other stuff just sounds like a whisper.
Ah, yeah.
The physical, the working out, making sure you have your water intake and making sure that you said, I love you to your
Yeah.
spouse. I love you. The pillow talk, the heartfelt, because when you wake up, you're just ready to go to that next thing. What do you do as a conscious leader to make sure that as you're crushing those goals, as you're, smashing these corporate contracts and helping executive leaders, show up in their most authentic leadership, you're making major impact in this space, the professional space. How does Doris then flip that hat over and make those transitions when the role transitions? Is there a conscious or intentional thing that you do to keep you accountable to making sure that you have those, those moments or time to shine with the ones you love most?
Yes, and I would tell you when I was younger, I was of a belief system that I had my work life and my home life, and that
Hmm.
I'd use different processes and practices in order to be successful in both. And as
Mhm.
I've matured and I recognize that really the same system worked in both places.
There you
Some of the
go.
things that I use at home is what helped me to be successful in corporate America. And some of the things that helped me to be successful in corporate are very effective at home. And
Yes.
so I don't necessarily code switch it. I do the same
Yes.
thing. So I have goals for each one of my kids. Every
Yes.
year we update, what those goals are. Now they're fluid as they achieve, as we recognize mastery of a certain skill or something they want to accomplish, then we move on to the next thing. They're collaborative. Like I don't unilaterally decide what they're going to achieve for the year. We sit down and talk about what is it that
Yes.
you want? Are you comfortable being a BC student or would you like
Yes.
to experience, the straight A, whatever? And then how do we get there? What are you going to commit to every day in order to make it happen? Same thing with my husband. We have our date nights. We have a certain amount of trips that we take a year. We lead our marriage ministry at our church, and we help to cultivate a culture for marriages. And we want people to feel welcome coming, whether things are good or bad. Here's a
Yes.
place where you can come and hang out with other married couples and understand that you're not alone in whatever you're going through. You got about
Yes.
2 or 3 of us sitting there that's going through it too. Um,
Yes. Yes.
but yeah, so
Yes.
I set goals and milestones and expectations and follow up and all those things that I did in the corporate space, I do it at home.
Listen,
Same
I
thing.
gotta I gotta pause for the cause right there, right? And let me tell you why. Man, so good. And the reason why that lights my soul on fire to hear you say that is because this is why I really believe that this podcast is going to just interrupt the success pattern because I don't believe there's enough global conversations around what it looks like to love, live, and lead in both worlds.
Yeah.
And it's such a old way. And I too remember compartmentalizing instead
Yeah.
of harmonizing.
Yeah.
Like this is this and this is this. Now up now I'm 5 o'clock, I'm off work. Don't talk to
Yep.
me. No,
Yep.
and this is like no, in my home as well. It's like this, it's a blend. And we're gonna be in, we're gonna have a great time. And if I do have a call, I let you know, hey, I have a call here. My kids know what's going on. I call it getting them meaningfully involved in the process.
Love that.
So I'm meaningfully involved when they hit a goal, and and it's extremely intentional. So inside the app, we have these playbooks, and it's a leadership playbook. And a lot of things that you're saying, the setting goals as a family, having the family meetings, and all of this
Mhm.
stuff that I now put in the app is because I was in corporate and I saw how well it worked. And I'm
Yeah,
like, why don't we take some of these systems that obviously are excelling in the corporate space, and let's put them in an app where people can also be introduced to it and be held accountable. You said something so key. You said follow up. You
mhm,
said to set your expectations and follow up.
yeah,
That right there, I really believe that as leaders, this is a reminder. You have to inspect what you expect.
expect oh,
You
yes,
know? And so when you
definitely.
said that, that's how you're able to get those type of results, because we do really well at setting the pace and the standard, but that follow-up sometimes, even with the clients,
Yeah,
this shows up. So let me ask you this, and this is more of like of a mindset or a beingness that we could do to challenge those listeners. When you see that that's an outcome that's showing up, man, follow up. When you say the fortune is in the follow-up, that's where the real juice is. So, no matter where you sit, whether you're a parent leader, whether you're corporate leader, leader of leader, you cannot escape follow up.
no,
And whenever you are struggling internally with, oh my God, I got to follow up these people, I got to do this, or I got to, it can kind of have a weight to it. What would you recommend as a leader to kind of romanticize follow ups, or to kind of, put a different lens on it so that follow up doesn't feel so draining and energy sucking?
wow, okay, so another great question, and here's what I've taught teams and leaders to do. Establish milestones while you're setting the expectation and all the excitement is still there. So in that conversation, you set the expectation. Let's say it's the quarterly goal, or let's say to get A's and B's at the end of the quarter, or the 9 weeks. What are going to be the milestones and the indicators that let us know that you're on the right track? And then how will I know if you've derailed? And so if you set that up from the beginning, now you know what to look for. It's easier. I like for people to set scheduled touch bases between the time you set the expectation and the end of the goal. That way it's not so scary when you say, okay, we need to talk,
Yes,
because it's
yes,
already been a plan. We're talking regularly anyway about the
yes,
progress. And so there's less to do when it becomes a part of the routine. But one of the biggest myths I think that people make is they don't identify key milestones along the way. So, what does success look like? How do I know you're trending to make A's and B's at the end of the quarter? Well, by week 3, I'm going to see at least a 90% average here. By week 4, I'm going to note on your progress report, it will be here. And so, long as those milestones are happening, you know that, okay, we're heading in the right direction.
yes,
In corporate, it could be someone who, again, is moving towards a sales goal. If we chunk that sales goal in 25% increments, and we know that 3 weeks in, you're trending on the 25%. All is well. We know that that milestone is good. We get 8 weeks in, but we're still, less than half or less than 70%. All right, we're off trend. Now we know that we have to have a conversation. But setting
yes.
those milestones on what success will look like along the way allows you to do less follow-up, because as long as they're hitting the milestones, it's already in place. It's almost like automated.
There you go. Woo! This is so good. So
Yes.
yes, you're good. You're good. Listen,
Thank you.
you know your stuff. Um, and man, well said,
Thank
because
you.
this creates a culture of
Mhm.
progress. And
Yeah.
another thing that this really does, leaders really hear me, lean in, is that people get excited when they can see on the way. It's like smelling the
Yeah.
roses. And
Yes.
so it doesn't feel so like daunting and critique. You didn't hit your numbers, or you're not on the right
Yep.
path.
No.
And I love the way you use the word derail, because even when I'm talking to my kids and I'm looking at where they are progress wise, it's not even a like you didn't, it's like, it's a noticing, it's a
Yeah.
tweaking. And this type of thought process, it really helps to nurture the growth mindset. It really does, because
Exactly.
sometimes we'll say, "Oh, we want our team to have this growth mindset, our children has growth mindset," but the way in which we're leading is very rigid and very fixed. And
And you have
so
to be very specific about it. It's the little difference between someone thinking they just failed or that they're a failure.
there you go. There you go. That's a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah.
A big difference. And I'm gonna hold this space with you.
Yeah.
So this is what's showing up, the data from the out from how you've been showing up. And I'm still here. I'm holding this space.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do next? I'm not
Okay.
like boom, 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 leave, figure it out. But now I'm here saying, hey, and we still got time. We're
Exactly.
catching this here. So, what can we do? And let's put this here. Let's include this variable. And what is something else we can do? Now it becomes like this
Yeah.
co-collaboration,
Yes.
which
And
creates
that's
this
so those milestones
people.
are perfect because you don't wait to the end to say that you didn't hit the mark. If you
Yeah.
identified those milestones in the beginning,
Yes.
you're more likely to see when someone's off track earlier, and now you catch the conversation early. Now it doesn't have to be a punitive conversation.
It doesn't have
It's
to be a
more of a
punitive.
pivot conversation, or it's
There
an
you
adjustment
go.
or an
Yes.
adaptability conversation
There you
versus
go.
you missed the mark.
Absolutely. And I believe that this is very well done to people and leaders who do this for themselves. And so I
Amen.
bet
Yes.
you that you do
Yes.
this for yourself,
I do.
right?
I
And so
do.
this is what this is about. When you do this work for yourself, it's easier to be able to lead in that way. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
that level of authenticity, that's where it is. Because you're not only showing up saying, this is what we need to do, and you're excited about, like you're genuinely excited. They can feel
Yeah.
that excitement,
Yeah.
even though they're supposed to feel this critical. But the reason why you're able to be authentic in your excitement is because you do this work for yourself. And that's where it starts, because one of my mentors said it like this: You are the hardest person you'll ever lead.
That's so
Right?
true. Yeah.
I don't
I
care
am
how
my
many
biggest critic.
leaders,
You can't say anything
you
to me I
know?
haven't said to myself yet.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how it should be. And
Yeah.
so if you start within. And
Yeah.
so being able to do that. So for those corporate leaders who are listening right now, make sure if you do not have a system in place to romanticize that follow-up, give yourself that mini milestone, that soft deadline, that you're doing weekly, so that at the end of the month, you're like, ah, man, I hadn't hit my numbers, but you're having these mini wins. And I cannot say this enough as we bring this beautiful conversation to a close. Celebrate your wins, even the
Ah,
seemingly small wins.
yes.
Celebrate them. Let your spouse, if you're married, let them be meaningfully involved in your process. Don't feel like because it wasn't the big goal that it doesn't deserve celebration. I'm telling you, from a neuroscience perspective, celebrating those small wins is going to create an activation in your brain to want to get the momentum necessary to hit that big win. Right?
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. Now, thank you so, so very much. Doris came in the room dropping gems. Now, what
Thank
would
you.
you leave us today? Like if you just had this one statement that you just wanted to leave with all of the leaders of leaders who are listening, who are burnt out, who's in this world playing multiple roles, high demand. They're getting ready to go back in like a couple of seconds, back into the world as usual. What do you give them to hold today? What would you leave them with?
Right. So what's top of mind for me this week, and I write a weekly blog on leadership, all things leadership and parenting. But what's top of mind for me this week is loneliness. And we
Mm.
are more connected than we've ever been, in human, history.
Mhm.
We have FaceTime and we have the Zoom links and we have all type of ways to be connected with each other, but we're experiencing loneliness more than ever. And what
Mm.
I would like to remind leaders of is that we were never meant to do this alone.
Mm.
We were never created to live life alone. They say that it's lonely at the top, and for leaders, it becomes true. But we have to find a way to be alone without being lonely. So yes, it may
Mm.
be only one of you in the building. However, that does not mean you are to be lonely. And so
Mm.
that's the message I want to leave.
That
People, we're
is
not meant to do
so
it alone. Find your community. Find your partner. I was in church on Sunday. He said, if you got one or two good friends, like,
hey, you're
but
blessed.
don't do this thing. Yeah, you're blessed. Like, but don't do this
Yes.
thing alone.
Right. Well, what a beautiful way to end this episode. You heard it from Doris firsthand. And listen, that's why I tell you all, welcome home. You found your stress free community right here with the Peace Driven Leader Movement, where leaders are ready to have real conversations and real transformation. Listen, you cannot carry it all, right? It's not
Yes.
about how much you carry, it's about how well you carry it. And so I want you to know that you're in the right place. Continue to love, live, and lead differently by showing up with conversations that are like this. Thank you so very much for sharing this space with us and dropping your wisdom with us on today. And until next time, I look forward to connecting with you soon on the next episode. See you next week. Bye bye for now.